to talk a little bit more about what's happened on that front, as well as what's going on in AI. We want to bring in Deemah AlYahya, Secretary-General of the Digital Cooperation Organization, which works with governments, the private sector, NGOs, and more with the goal of achieving social prosperity by growing the digital economy. Great to see you, Deemah.
Thank you for having me.
We talk on the show all the time about artificial intelligence, but it's always through the lens of these big companies, primarily U.S. companies, that are benefiting from that. When I look at the rest of the world, particularly outside the developed world, I do wonder what they are benefiting from or contributing to this AI spend that I would assume they don't necessarily have the same deep pockets that we have, say, here in the United States or in Europe or in the Middle East.
Well, exactly. Looking at last year alone, 2024, $300 billion has been invested in AI. But if you look, it's just a number of countries that have contributed to that investment in building their infrastructure. And rather than narrowing the digital divide, we're increasing that divide with AI. Looking at the connectivity divide as well, 2.6 billion people are still not connected. How are they even going to benefit from such kind of amazing technology like AI? And this is where in the DCO, the Digital Cooperation Organization, we're really working on identifying the competitive advantage of each country and their AI readiness and seeing how can it be a solution for a challenge to another country. Like, for instance, we see the GCC investing heavily in AI infrastructure, but then you see a lot of brain power in other countries like Pakistan, Nigeria, Morocco, Jordan, and this is where we come up with a governance where all these countries can benefit from each other.
I'm glad you bring up the brain power, because this has been brought up before, that you have a lot of countries that do certainly have the brain power, but they don't necessarily have the institution, the corporate institutions and the money to actually fund it in the same way you have in the U.S. Is there a risk that some of those nations without the money lose the brain power, meaning those people end up going to the U.S. or to Europe or maybe even to China?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And that's why it's very important to create that stimulus business environment that can enrich that innovation in the country and beyond. And this is where we're working on creating that easy expansion between countries. Last year alone, we supported 180 startups by expanding easily between member states. And that's by easing doing business, even registrations, and also creating bank accounts. So rather than having fragmented licenses or policies and regulations for opening your own business, we've unified all of that between our member states, creating a bigger market, which is up to 800 million people that can benefit from these technologies.
Well, to that point, to the work that you're doing with startups, something that I wonder about is that when we talk about this connectivity problem, what is the relationship between governments and the private sector in working together to solve that?
Oh, that's a great question. We truly believe that to narrow that divide, it needs to be a collective effort. It needs to be a multi-stakeholder approach. We have to innovate in our ways of doing business, even disrupting our PPP modules, which is public-private partnerships. What we used to do before, the models in the past, is not going to work going forward. And this is where we have to bring in financial institutions and new ways of investments as well, not only in terms of private sector, but also individuals can invest as well in bridging that connectivity gap. We're going to need more than $2 trillion to bridge that gap.
Yeah, well, if you had to put numbers to it, $2 trillion, not enough. What is the estimate, do you think?
In terms of connectivity? In terms
of what do you need to further that vision?
Not only in terms of financials, but also we do need to innovate in connectivity itself. Now, I'll give you an example. When it comes to connecting, or for instance, the Gulf, or a country like Saudi Arabia, at the end of the day, the urban nature of Saudi Arabia is very easy, where it's a desert at the end of the day. Where you look at Pakistan, where the urban nature is mostly stone mountains, and therefore it takes triple the amount in capital to have that connectivity. So it's not just about the financials, but also creating new innovations like satellite connectivity, as well as other means.
All right, Deemah, great to get some time with you ahead of what's going to be a busy week. That is Deemah AlYahya. She is Secretary General of the Digital Corporation Organization.